Well, a very good afternoon to you all if you're listening to this live. Welcome to our coaching cafe. It's Natalie Ashdown here with you from Open Door Coaching. And today for our coaching cafe, we're thinking about how did you make that decision and how can we use our coaching and our coaching questions to help managers, leaders, the people we're working with actually make a better decision, do better decision making. So I'm really looking forward to hearing your thoughts around this. And we've got some opportunities to interact and hear your thoughts. So before I begin, let me do acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge the traditional owners and the custodians of the lands on which we meet today and the continuing connection to the land, waters and communities of Australia. And we pay our respects to them and to their elders, past, present and emerging. And you know that given that we're all meeting via Zoom and we do this every Friday, I think it's wonderful to acknowledge that we're all meeting on different lands today. And I'm always grateful that we can come together in this way as well. So just a reminder, if you are here because you are collecting your ICF hours, then you simply need to send us a message through to support at Open Door Coaching, and your professional development hours, you can clock those up, and we of course offer those free of charge. So that I normally have my professional photo up, but that's what I look like at the moment with over Zoom with all the wonderful flip charts behind me. Our agenda for today, we're going to dig into, in the short time we have available, let's try to understand how people make decisions. So what coaching questions can we ask to help people understand how they make decisions? I hope that we'll get some time to actually generate coaching questions together, and I'm looking forward to being able to do that. For those that are new to the Coaching Cafe, welcome. We are really about sharing our learning, our knowledge, our experience, coming together as a community, having some thought-provoking conversations. We come together every Friday at this time, and there is hundreds of people that I know that listen to the YouTube videos once we post them on our blog. So whether you're listening to this live here with me right now, or you're listening to this while you're out running or in the car or vacuuming or whatever you do, walking the dog, welcome. I'm looking forward to sharing some great ideas with you. Thanks for joining us. And of course, as I mentioned, if you are collecting your ICF CCEUs, then support at opendoorcoaching.com.au. Excellent. If you would like to interact with us, please feel free to do that via the chat box. Simply pop a message into the chat there and I can pick up your thoughts, your comments, your questions as we go along as well. And Eleanor, you're on 2 devices today, so you're obviously multitasking on your devices. That's great. No worries. So just a quick funny cartoon. I'm thinking about, why is it so important? Why is it so important that we actually help leaders in the workplace, managers in the workplace understand decision making and how they go about their decisions? I just love this Dilbert cartoon. It's got the heading, "The Non-Committal Committee." And Dilbert says, "Does everyone agree with the plan?" And then 4 people in a row say, "It depends, ask me later. Yeah, I'll think about it." And Dilbert gets really frustrated. He says, "Make a decision." And someone says, "Is this your first day?" So, and yes, if you can't see the screen, that's why I read it out. So I love a bit of a funny cartoon from Dilbert, as you know. Why is it so important? Well, research that I've picked up. There's research from Cornell University. They did research into people and food decision making, that they make 220 decisions on average just around food. And that then they use to explain a lot of things that go on, like overeating and snacking and things like that. They also estimated that an average adult makes 35,000 decisions per day, which is just, I can't even get my head around that. So what I'm thinking of, even if you make 3 or 4 major decisions a day, we make hundreds and hundreds of decisions, 35,000 a day. Even if we make a few critical decisions a day, some important decisions a day, it's really important, from our opinion, to understand how we make those decisions. What's driving those decisions? What processes and procedures do we go through to make those decisions? Because if we can analyze that and understand that, then our theory is that you can then make better decisions. And that's what we're really focused on. So, how can we use our coaching techniques to actually help people make better decisions when you think about the uh, enormous volume of decisions that people are making every single day from the second they wake up to the second they go to sleep? So, I'm not sure what you thought about that, but when I heard those statistics, I just went, wow, that's incredible. So, of course, there's a lot of experienced coaches on the line, and I will be very keen to hear your thought. And yes, Eleanor says, no wonder we have decision fatigue. It is actually a real thing. Yeah. Thank you. So there's a number of techniques we can use. If we just go back to the GROW model and have a think about how we can use the GROW model for decision making, it really can inform the process. We will dig in more, but if we just think about the GROW model, we're actually able to understand how people can make the decisions. So we could ask, for example, so what's your goal around decision making? So what's your goal around this decision? What would you like to achieve around this decision? Think about asking someone, so what would you like to achieve around that decision? And what would you like to achieve out of this conversation is a very important question. Whenever I'm helping clients make decisions, I want to know in this coaching conversation, what do they want to get out of that conversation? Is it more information? Is it just to be better informed? Do they actually want to make the decision in this coaching conversation? Because of course that changes the outcome, doesn't it? Changes what we go for. So we can think about what it is you'd like to achieve. What's happening now? So we can ask lots of different questions around reality, around how they, what's happening now, how they're making their decisions, what's informing their decision, plenty of questions, how they've made decisions in the past. What are their options? So, what options do they have around this decision? And anything we can do to really broaden the choices that people make. So it's not just so black and white. That's quite useful. And then, of course, as coaches, we fulfill the purpose of actually helping people decide what they will do and when they will do it by, of course, watching out for that wiggle room. So even our GROW model, our GROW model is in our blood, particularly if you've been trained by open door coaching, the GROW model's in our blood. So we can run the GROW model, but dig into the different questions as we go along. When did you make the decision is part of reality. So how did you make that decision, or when did you make that decision is part of reality that we can explore. And how does that decision inform you moving forward? So that's a really great, how does that information inform your decision is really great in terms of generating those options and what they will do to move forward. So there's lots we can actually do there. What options do you have? So I'm keen to get your thoughts on this as we go along. So please feel free to pop your messages into the chat box. And as I said, if we get time, we'll just generate some questions that we can use for our coaching around decisions as well. There's a couple of questions I really want to dig into now with you. And these are the questions here. How did you make that decision? When did you make the decision? And when you think about the questions, I beg your pardon, when you think about the decisions that you've made, that should say, when you think about the decisions that you've made. So there's 3 ways we can actually explore and help the person get more information. Now, what we're doing in order to help people make better decisions in the workplace and in their personal lives as well, we want to try to start to understand how is it that they make decisions? What's happening when they actually make decisions? And when they think about good decisions that they've made, what processes did they go through? So the questions we can ask here, when we think about how they made that decision, you could tap into something like your Myers-Briggs profile. Are they making their decisions basically on logic? So is it all a head-based, logic-based decision making? Or are they making their decisions based on their heart, their gut, their values, like an F, a feeling-based decision maker? What, as CJ just said, there. How do you make that decision? It's a great question because people often don't know. That's right. I think once we decide what we want to achieve, there's a lot of work we can do as coaches in that reality phase to work out exactly what you said there, CJ. How do they make that decision? Because they're not conscious of it, they're just going about it. So we can dig into our MBTI profiles. Of course, we include that in our certificate for in workplace and business coaching. We can also dig into our visual, auditory, kinesthetic, auditory, digital understanding. In order for me to make a decision, do I need to see something? Do I need to envisage something? Do I need to step through the process, the auditory digital process step by step in order to make the decision? Am I just the kind of person that just says, you know what, let's just go for it, forget it, let's do it? Am I working on gut impulse? Have I got a combination of logic and gut going on? What's happening? How did I make the decision? When we go into our diploma program, we dig down into really specifically analyzing what happened, then what happened. I saw something, I thought to myself, which is auditory digital, that looks great. I had this sense of excitement around it. So I just pulled out my wallet and I bought it. I flipped out my phone and I made that purchase. So there was not really much thinking going on there. There was not much logic going on. I saw it, I got excited, I purchased that product. Okay. And of course, that's what clickbait's all about, isn't it? That's how people get stuck on online shopping, etc. It is that kind of automatic response. Saw it, got excited, said to myself something, and then I purchased it. If there was logic and a lot of stuff like that going on, then there would be less less online purchases, I imagine. Hal says we should have done this before the Black Friday sales, indeed. That's right. So we can really ask our clients and we can really ask our leaders in the workplace. We can ask a lot of questions here to really dig into how are they making their decisions? What's the process? What's the procedure? What are they saying to themselves? Where's that decision coming from? Is it the heart? Is it the head? Is it the gut? Is it a special combination? There's lots we can actually do here. If the more we do here, to become clear about particularly big decisions, the better off we're going to be in terms of making better decisions into the future. Thanks for sharing your comments. How did you make that decision? Was it based on experience? Was it based on advice? Did you go and seek a mentor? Did you get some coaching? What else was involved in making that decision? Did you call on other resources? What else was included in your decision-making process, if you had a process? Did you base it on experience? Did you go, how many people gave you advice around that? What was their advice? How did that inform your decision-making? There's so many questions. I just love it. We can roll so many questions to really try to understand it. The other really interesting thing to me, and I wonder what you think as well, is when did they make that decision? So here we're actually thinking about the time frame for decision making, and this is a really, really interesting little piece that we can dig into, because what I'm interested also is what internal biases might be showing up around the decision. Now, the best example I have here is when we're working with some organisations and they see young recruits or young graduates. The graduate comes in the door or the recruit comes in the door and they bump into a chair or they drop their folder or they do something. They drop their bags or drop their folder or do something clumsy, if you like. And then the instructor or the trainer or the whoever it might be goes, oh, that person's never going to make it. So they've come into a training program to pass something or, whatever it might be. There's some sort of gatekeeping that's going on. They've done something clumsy and then the person decides that recruit, that graduate, they're never going to make it. And then they go through the training program and they're not successful. And the instructor says, well, I told you, I knew that person was never going to make it. And the question we have is, when did you decide that? When did you decide that the person was never going to make it? And when you think about it, it was from the moment that person got off the bus, or it was the moment that person walked in the door. Think about, like when people meet other people, they go, "Ooh, I don't like that person." It's like they've decided now at this point in time, and later they might be having the conversation to say, "Oh, I never liked them in the first place." It's like, well, when did you decide that? Oh, the moment they walked through the door with their, red hair or whatever it might have been, something that was different. So the internal biases play out there. Something was different. I decided I didn't like you, and now that bias, whatever it is, whatever bias is coming up for you gets carried through and then influences all the decisions that you make from then on. Now, this is a really super critical thing for us to think about. So, with leaders, when they're making the decisions, they're thinking about, okay, when I'm making recruitment decisions, when I'm making decisions about who comes on my team, what biases, what is informing our decision is really important here. I don't want to work with people who have got X kind of style because I found in the past they never, they don't perform. Think about all the internal biases that might have come up around working from home. I want to see people in front of me because let's face it, I don't trust them to be working, to be working. I think they're going to be, doing whatever, skiving off. So it's very interesting about how we're going to, for example, be deciding who comes back to work, who doesn't come back to work, all of these kind of things. And getting underneath those internal biases about when did we make those decisions? How did we make those decisions? What was the timeline? I made this decision ages ago, but I'm only sharing it now with my team. Those kind of things. It's important to try to understand. We really are exploring people's maps of the world. Yeah, absolutely. The other thing we can do here with decision making, so I've written questions there, but it is around decision making, is thinking about when they've made decisions. So we're trying to get more information about how to make a better decision. So let's take a look at them. When you've made a good decision, and then later down the track, you look back on it and it was a good decision. How did you make that decision? When did you make the decision? What was involved in making that decision? And we can elicit all of the information around that. Because if I know that I've made a good decision in that environment, in that context, with that information, then that might actually inform how I go about making this decision. If it's never going to be exactly the same, is it? But it can give us information to make a better decision. What about the opposite as well? So if I've made a decision and then in hindsight it turned out not to be the right thing, what was happening here? Did I just make a decision based on logic? Did I forget my gut? Was I not listening to my gut? Or was I only listening to my gut and my heart and didn't let my head do some rational thinking here? Was I only basing it on my experience and not the experience of the team around me? Was I not listening? Was I not asking enough questions? All of these kind of questions we can ask can actually analyze the decision. And the more information we get, our theory is that the better information that can inform our forthcoming decisions as well. So it's interesting to think about when you've made a decision and it's gone right in hindsight, and you've made a decision and it hasn't been quite right in hindsight as well. There is most likely going to be a difference. If I've made a big decision that turned out well, then I've probably, and I'm just using generalizations here, probably really thought about it, checked in with my heart, my head, my gut. I've got information, I've been informed, etc. So that's, you'll be able to elicit and find out, well, what were those things? And if it's not worked out well, was it an environmental constraint? Did something change? Was I not was I not following my typical decision making process that I use? So it's really interesting, and as coaches, we can dig into all of that. Alrighty, let me just pause, see if you've got questions or thoughts around this. Such a simple topic and so much detail we can go into. A lot of the coaching I'm doing actually with senior leaders, with executives, with and running workshops. We include this in our workshops as well because it's so very important. Um, it's really important to actually help people also make decisions at their pay grade. So what we find often in like in some government organizations, for example, is that people have the decision making authority, but they're not using that authority. They're basically sending those decisions up the chain for whatever reason. They're afraid of failure. They didn't know they had the ability to make the decision. They don't think they've got the resources. They don't want to take the risk. There'll be several reasons why decisions are not being made at the pay grade, at the level that they should be. That's really interesting as well. We can dig into that. Maybe they've got, as Eleanor said, a fear of making decisions as well. So, do they have a fear? Are they worried about the consequences? So, what can we actually dig into there as well? So, yeah, tips for next time. I would definitely explore. I'd explore that decision actually. Let's talk about decisions and what's going on there around. What is the fear and how can they deal with that next time? What other information do they need in order to actually assist them with their decision making? Great. So another quick little, oh, that's a good question too, Di. Di says, how do you coach procrastination? Yes, well, we've done a couple of webinars on procrastinating actually, and we've got quite a few tools available. Procrastination around decision making is really interesting. I'm trying to get under the surface to find out what's going on. So, what is it that's preventing us from making these decisions? What's preventing us? Now, typically, it comes down to things like a lack of knowledge. I don't have the knowledge I need. It might be that it's a big decision, so there is some fear around it. It could be that I don't have the skills or resources. It could be that it's not my pay grade, it's not my job to make these decisions. So it's normally going to come down to kind of one of those big categories, or maybe it's I just know I need to make the decision. So I know it's the right thing, but there's some fear or some trepidation, or there's something. When it comes to procrastination, there's always something missing. So we're trying to identify in the reality phase, like if we look at the grow model, we're trying to identify in the reality phase what's missing here, and also remember we're trying to find out what obstacles are in the way as well. So what's getting in the way of you making that decision? Um, and so I had a simple decision I was trying to make recently, just around a personal decision around Christmas presents, and Black Friday's on, and there's sales going on, and all this kind of stuff. And so it was about just trying to ask myself, why can't I make a decision here? What's getting in my way? What's missing? What do I need? And that's a simple decision. Do I get involved in Black Friday sales, or do I leave it, and participate in some other form of Christmas shopping? So that's just a kind of a simple kind of question, but I thought about it a lot. Decision. So when leaders are making bigger decisions and more critical decisions, and there's procrastination going on, we need to really understand that. We need to know what's missing. The other thing also is that we need to know that people make decisions at different speeds. So different speeds, different pace. Some people get kind of they're procrastinating. They almost get paralyzed around the decision. So we need to coax them on that. find out what's missing. They still may not make a decision. Like some people just do not like to do it. We find like, I'm not sure what you're like, everyone on the line, but sometimes you make so many decisions at work. The last thing you want to do when you go home is start making decisions. So there's things like that that go on as well. We just get really tired of having to make these decisions. So don't ask me what's for dinner. Yeah. Alrighty. So we have got a few minutes. I'll quickly put up. This is um, to help with the Black Friday or Christmas shopping decision. Yes, Angie, she's got some tips here. Go ahead. So let's just spend a couple of quick minutes. Here we go. What has she said? Oh, wow. Angie says, as part of What She Makes campaign, Oxfam has released a shopping for a bargain report. It's the first detailed investigation into the way leading fashion retailers operating in Australia do business with their suppliers. With Christmas shopping upon us, we can support brands that pay the women who make our clothes a living wage. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that's really good of you. That's a really important thing that you bring up, Angie, is how do we, there's decisions we're making around, do we go to the major shopping centres or do we support our local traders? There's lots of decisions we're going to be making there. We're going to be trading off, cost, expense, all these kind of things. And I'm glad that you raised Oxfam, because it's actually an opportunity to support people and support women as we go along. So that's really good how those decisions are coming into it as well. Thank you. Excellent. So yeah, with Christmas shopping, we can make decisions about who we support, how we support people. Yeah, absolutely. So let's have a couple of quick minutes. I was introduced to this little tool by Di, who's on the line. Thank you so much. And everybody knows now I'm mad for ideas board. We used it last week. It was really cool. So I've got this little ideas board for you here. I'm going to paste the link into the channel, into the chat box. And if you click on that link, you'll actually see you can click on the link and you'll see the ideas board come up. So I thought what we'll do just very quickly, just as a little bit of fun, we've got so many great coaches on the line. Let's just have a couple of quick minutes and let's just go for it. Let me share my screen as well so you can see it. That's the one. Let's just generate questions. What kind of questions can we generate? Hopefully you can see my screen there. What kind of questions can we generate that help people understand the goal, the reality, the options, the way forward? Here they come. Excellent. So if you're questions that are specifically related to decision making, like around the goal, what were you hoping to achieve by making that decision? Brilliant question. So if you want to do this, all you need to do is click the little green button next to goal, reality, options, all the way forward, and you can type your actual question in there. So reality questions like how will you make that decision? Great question. What support do you have? Excellent question. What do you want in this situation? Great. Under goal, good. Just go for it. Any questions you want to ask, there's no wrong or right. We've got so many excellent coaches on the line. We can really use our experience here. Great. What will you do? That's, yeah, of course, great question for the way forward. Reality, I like what's missing as well. Here they come. That's great. Yeah. Hopefully you can see that. Let's just keep going. We've got a couple of minutes. What's missing? What action will you commit to that supports your goal? What will you do? Excellent. That's great. And I appreciate that some people are, you can't access the ideas board, but you'll be able to listen to the questions as we come as well. Yeah. That's a good one. What option is standing out? That's an excellent question. Thank you. So helping them narrow down the options. What would you like to do differently? What steps will you take in your current decision in the business? Excellent. Yeah. How will you know you've achieved your goal? Great. What do you want from this coaching conversation? Yeah. Excellent. That's good. I'm going to use this more and more because we've got all these great coaches. We might as well just tap into our knowledge and all as we go. Fantastic. What options will your network open up for you? That's a great question. What aren't you considering? That's an excellent. What are you afraid of considering? Great question. Yeah, what's missing? How will you make that decision? What's happening now? Yeah. I also don't mind a question about, how will you decide? So that might be a bit more of a way forward kind of question. I'll chuck it in under there as well. So how will you decide? Um, is there what I mean by that is there a criteria? Is there a set of conditions? That's an excellent question. How do you know you haven't made the decision already? Fantastic question. I like that one a lot. Excellent. What could help you decide? Just even basic questions around, what's stopping you, what's missing. Yeah, I like those as well. Yeah. What's getting in the way? If there is something getting in the way, we can find that out as well, for sure. Yeah, that's right. Fantastic. Well, thanks for sharing those, and we can spend any amount of time, can't we? Look at all the questions; it's fantastic. We've got heaps coming through. That's excellent. Look, if you feel free. I'll leave the ideas board open if you want to just have a bit of a play, add a few questions, take a screenshot of it. You're really more than welcome to do that as well. There we go. So you can see from what we've shared, just in closing, you can see that what we've shared, when it comes to decision making, there's so much we can actually do as coaches to help leaders, to help managers, to help the people we're coaching with, to help our families and friends, make better decisions. Given, as I mentioned, that we make so many decisions per day, then even, spending the time sitting down, having that 1 hour coaching conversation, a number of times, that when I'm helping executives make decisions, it's not just in a 1 hour. They're actually looking at this decision over a period of time as well, particularly when it's an important decision. There you go. So, how do we use the information that we've got to make informed decisions? What information will inform your decision? What will you do? All those great questions we can ask as well. So there you go. If you're thinking about yourself or your team's development for into the future, for next year, we've got our Leader as Coach program. We've got our mental health first aid programs. Of course, we have our certificate for workplace and business coaching. And for all the experienced coaches, if you're looking to strengthen coaching skills, we use a lot of information. A lot of our diploma in organizational coaching features a whole module actually on decision making. And how can we really dig into how our clients make decisions to get the best benefit for them? So there you go, just some ideas about development into the future. Thank you very much for joining us. If you are a regular, next week is our final coaching cafe before Christmas. So I look forward to joining you on the line and celebrating a year of highly successful coaching that we've done all the way through COVID and out the other side, I'm saying. So terrific. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, CJ. Thanks for joining me on the line. And as I always say, enjoy your coaching, everyone. Enjoy making a difference. And I look forward to catching up with you soon. Thank you. Thanks, Laylene. Great to see you.